If you're over 60, you've probably noticed a frustrating shift. Some nights you fall asleep easily, others take longer, but the real problem comes later. A few hours in, your body rises out of sleep, not fully awake, yet no longer resting, leaving you in a light, unstable state that stretches toward morning. Here's the part most seniors never hear. This isn't just a melatonin problem, and it isn't simply getting older. It's 5 biological pathways that weaken with age. The ones that keep sleep deep, steady, and connected. And the surprising twist is this. Some of the strongest ways to repair those pathways don't come from medication at all. They come from ordinary fruits. Fruits that contain natural compounds shown to support serotonin, stabilize nighttime glucose, calm inflammatory signaling, and strengthen the gut-brain axis that controls melatonin. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, and after 25 years studying sleep physiology in older adults, I can tell you this with confidence. Harvard's 2022 sleep analysis found that most fragmentation between 1 and 3 a.m. isn't age, it's pathway failure. And the right fruits can nudge those pathways back into rhythm. You don't need exotic supplements. You don't need higher and higher doses of melatonin. You need the right fruit at the right time, each chosen for a specific part of your sleep architecture. There's a fruit in this list that works faster than most people expect, and another that repairs the deepest phase of nightly recovery. Please like this video so it reaches more seniors, and subscribe for more science-based sleep guidance. Let's start with fruit number 7. Number 7, papaya. If there is one fruit older adults consistently overlook in the evening, it's papaya. And yet, it's one of the most reliable ways to calm the system that wakes seniors between 2 and 4 a.m. Papaya contains papain, an enzyme that gently breaks down proteins and eases the workload of the stomach. As we age, gastric emptying slows, and even small amounts of digestive pressure can trigger the vagus nerve, lift the sympathetic system, and nudge the brain out of sleep. Papain reduces that pressure, allowing the digestive tract to settle instead of sending wake-up signals during the night. It also provides a natural dose of vitamin C, which supports the mucosal lining of the gut. A healthier lining means fewer irritation signals and fewer micro-awakenings that feel like random interruptions but are actually GI-driven. One small clinical trial on adults with nighttime digestive sensitivity found that when evening digestion improved, nighttime awakenings decreased noticeably, especially in those over 60. The mechanism wasn't dramatic. It was simply that a calmer gut leads to a calmer nervous system, something seniors feel immediately. Papaya is especially helpful for people who eat early dinners or have mild reflux, bloating, or that lingering fullness that shows up just as they're trying to fall asleep. When the stomach empties smoothly, the sympathetic nervous system stays quieter, and the first half of the night becomes far more stable. Here's the correct way to use it. Eat 1/2 cup of ripe papaya about 60 to 90 minutes after dinner. Not right before bed. Give it time to work with the gut. If you want to enhance the effect, add 1 teaspoon of soaked chia seeds. The soluble fiber helps stabilize nighttime glucose, reducing the chances of a 2 to 3 a.m. cortisol spike. This isn't a sedative fruit. It doesn't knock you out. It simply removes one of the most common and most overlooked triggers of broken sleep in adults over 60, digestive activation. And with that foundation set, let's move to fruit number 6, the one that protects your nighttime glucose so your sleep doesn't collapse in the middle of the night. Number 6, pears. For many older adults, the most damaging part of sleep isn't falling asleep. It's the sudden drop that happens a few hours after dinner. You're resting, the night feels stable, and then, without warning, the body snaps awake between 1 and 3 a.m. Very often, that pattern starts with glucose instability, not stress or hormones. That's why pears earn the number 6 spot. They are one of the simplest, safest, and most effective low GI fruits for seniors. Pears contain a gentle mix of soluble pectin and slow carbohydrates that prevent the sharp glucose fall that commonly occurs 3 to 5 hours after eating. When glucose dips too low, cortisol rises to compensate. And that cortisol spike is one of the biggest triggers of middle-of-the-night awakenings. By giving the body a slow, steady release of energy, Pears keep cortisol from rising at the wrong time. The result is fewer false alarms from the nervous system and a much more stable first half of the night. A small study on adults aged 55 to 75 found that evening low GI fruits reduced nocturnal awakenings, especially in those with mild glucose swings. Seniors with lighter dinners benefited the most, exactly the group that tends to wake up in the early morning window. Pears also have another advantage. Because they're naturally hydrating and low acid, they don't irritate the stomach. For seniors with reflux, citrus sensitivity, or a delicate gut lining, pears provide glucose stability without digestive stimulation, something very few fruits can do. Here's how to use pears correctly at night. Eat half to one pear about 60 to 90 minutes after dinner, not immediately before bed. Keep the portion modest. The goal is stability, not fullness. If your digestion is strong, chilling the pear before eating can add a mild sympathetic calming effect that some seniors find surprisingly helpful. And if you're sensitive, peel the skin. The flesh alone is gentler. This fruit won't put you to sleep. It simply removes one of the clearest causes of broken sleep after 60, a nighttime glucose crash that wakes the body before the mind is ready. Now we can move to fruit number 5, a fruit that improves circulation and quiets the sympathetic system itself. Number 5, pomegranate. Many older adults describe a strange kind of nighttime alertness. Not anxiety, not worry, just a quiet internal brightness that shouldn't be there. The body feels slightly activated, the chest a little warm, the heart a touch more aware than it should be. It's subtle, but it's enough to break sleep in the early part of the night. Pomegranate targets that exact pattern. This fruit is unusually rich in polyphenols and natural nitric oxide boosters, compounds that relax blood vessels and improve circulation in the late afternoon and early evening. When blood flow becomes smoother, the cardiovascular system stops sending those small, stay alert signals that often pull older adults out of sleep long before morning. Research on no supporting fruits shows a clear pattern. When evening circulation improves, sleep continuity improves with it, especially in adults over 60. When arteries stiffen slightly and the sympathetic nervous system reacts more easily. Pomegranate doesn't sedate, it removes the hidden triggers that keep the body too awake at night. I've seen this help seniors who say things like, "I'm not stressed, but my body won't settle," or "My heart feels a little active even when my mind is calm." In many cases, improving circulation quiets those sensations far more effectively than teas or supplements. To use it properly, have a small portion of seeds or a small amount of unsweetened juice between 4 and 6 p.m. That timing lets the cardiovascular system settle before the evening begins. A simple shift, but often a powerful one for sleep maintenance. Pomegranate gives the body permission to stand down so the night can finally hold together. Now let's move to fruit number 4, a fruit that strengthens serotonin and helps the brain enter sleep more smoothly. Number 4, kiwi. For many older adults, the hardest part of sleep isn't the middle of the night. It's the moment the evening finally gets quiet. The body is tired, the eyes are heavy, but the mind doesn't shift down. It feels too alert, too awake behind the eyes, even when you're exhausted. That difficulty entering sleep is almost always a serotonin problem, not a melatonin problem. And kiwi is one of the most effective natural serotonin support fruits for seniors. Kiwi contains 3 things older adults rarely get enough of in the evening: natural folate, vitamin C, and a small but meaningful amount of tryptophan. These work together to lift the brain's serotonin baseline, the chemical that later becomes melatonin once night falls. When serotonin is low, sleep onset stretches longer, mental chatter hangs around, and the transition into stage 1 sleep becomes shaky. When serotonin is supported, the brain can flip from wake to sleep in a clean, steady slide. This isn't just theory. A well-designed clinical trial found that adults who ate 2 kiwis before bed reduced their sleep onset time by over 35%, and many reported smoother, quieter transitions into sleep. Even more interesting, the benefit was stronger in older adults than in younger ones, likely because age-related declines in folate and serotonin production make the pathway more sensitive to food-based support. Kiwi works in a way supplements often cannot. It doesn't force anything. It doesn't sedate. It simply strengthens the chemical starting point that makes melatonin effective later in the night. When that starting point is solid, both sleep onset and early night stability improve. Many seniors I've worked with describe the same shift after adding kiwi. My mind doesn't fight bedtime anymore. I don't lie there waiting for sleep to happen. I slide into sleep instead of chasing it. That's exactly what the serotonin pathway should feel like when it's supported. To use kiwi correctly, timing matters. Eat 1 to 2 kiwis about an hour before bed. Green kiwi works well for most people, but if your digestion is sensitive or you tend to experience reflux, golden kiwi is gentler and often better tolerated. Kiwi doesn't fix every part of sleep. It fixes the beginning. And when the beginning is smooth, the rest of the night becomes more stable. Next is fruit number 3, the one that stabilizes cortisol, glucose, and nighttime nervous system balance all at once. This is where many seniors finally stop waking between 1 and 3 a.m. Number 3, avocado. One of the most common and least understood sleep problems in adults over 60 is the sudden awakening between 1 and 3 a.m. Not from pain, not from thoughts, not from needing the restroom, just a sudden rise in alertness, as if the body lifts itself upward before the mind can stop it. That pattern almost always comes from 3 biological failures happening at the same time: a small nighttime cortisol rebound, a drop in glucose stability, and a weakened serotonin pathway. And avocado is one of the rare fruits that supports all 3. Avocado carries a combination older adults desperately need in the evening: vitamin B6, natural folate, potassium, and stable healthy fats. B6 and folate help the brain produce serotonin, the chemical precursor to melatonin, ensuring melatonin isn't starting from a weakened baseline. Potassium calms the sympathetic nervous system, reducing those subtle nighttime surges of heart activity that so many seniors describe but can't explain. And the healthy fats slow digestion and stabilize glucose for hours, preventing the exact glucose dip that triggers a cortisol spike between 1 and 3 in the morning. This triple effect is why avocado works so well for people who say, "I fall asleep fine, but I can't stay asleep." In fact, diets rich in folate and evening healthy fats have been repeatedly associated with longer, more continuous sleep in older adults, especially those who experience early night fragmentation. I've watched this happen in real patients. Carol, 73, had been waking 3 times every night for nearly a decade. Nothing helped. Teas, melatonin, even prescription sleep aids only blunted the pattern. But once she added a quarter avocado to her dinner, not before bed, not as a late snack, but with dinner, her awakenings dropped from 3 per night to 1, and some nights none at all. Her sleep wasn't sedated, it became stable. The key to using avocado correctly is timing. Eat a quarter to half an avocado with your evening meal, not right before bed. Eating it too late can feel heavy for some seniors, but eating it with dinner provides the perfect slow-release support for the hours that matter most. Avocado doesn't just help you enter sleep, it helps you stay there. It strengthens serotonin, calms the nervous system, and prevents the cortisol rebound that destroys so many nights. Now we move to fruit number 2, the fruit with natural melatonin, clinically shown to extend sleep by up to 90 minutes. This is where the architecture of the night finally begins to rebuild. Number 2, tart cherry. For many adults over 60, the struggle isn't falling asleep. It's keeping the night intact. The first few hours may be fine, but somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m., the sleep architecture thins out. Dreams get louder, the mind drifts upward, and a light, fragile state replaces the deep, restorative phases the brain depends on. That pattern almost always points to one thing: weakened melatonin signaling. Tart cherries are one of the only fruits that naturally strengthen that pathway. Unlike other fruits, tart cherries contain measurable amounts of natural melatonin. Not synthetic, not concentrated, not a supplement, but melatonin built directly into the fruit's own structure. That matters for older adults because natural melatonin rises slowly and predictably without the sharp spikes and crashes common in pills. Instead of forcing sleep, it supports the body's own timing. Just as important are the anthocyanins, the deep red compounds that reduce neuroinflammation along the brain's sleep pathways. When these pathways are inflamed, which becomes increasingly common after 60, melatonin signals don't travel cleanly. The body tries to stay asleep, but the architecture keeps breaking. Anthocyanins calm that disruption, allowing melatonin to work the way it used to. Clinical trials are unusually strong for this fruit. Multiple studies have shown that tart cherry juice can extend total sleep by 60 to 90 minutes, especially in older adults with fragmented sleep. Participants didn't just sleep longer, they slept more continuously, with fewer micro-awakenings and a smoother return to sleep when awakenings did happen. I've seen this in practice too. When I recommended tart cherry to one of my long-term patients, Eleanor, 71, she was waking every 90 minutes. After 2 weeks of using a small dose in the evening, her sleep extended to 4-hour blocks, and her early morning fragmentation nearly disappeared. She described it perfectly. My nights finally feel like nights again. To use tart cherry correctly, timing and dose matter more than quantity. A small serving, about 60 to 120 milliliters of unsweetened tart cherry juice, taken 45 to 60 minutes before bed, is ideal. More is not better. And for those sensitive to sugar, the diluted or low sugar versions work just as well because the benefit doesn't come from the sugar, it comes from the melatonin and anthocyanins. Tart cherry supports the architecture of sleep itself. The continuity, the depth, the quiet transitions between cycles that make a night whole. And now we arrive at fruit number 1, the deep sleep hero, the fruit with the strongest evidence for calming neuroinflammation, stabilizing glucose, and strengthening slow-wave activity. This is the fruit that helps older adults rebuild the deepest part of sleep. Number 1, blueberries. If there is one fruit every senior should keep in their home for sleep, it's this one. Not because it makes you drowsy, not because it raises melatonin, but because it repairs the part of sleep that aging disrupts the most. Slow-wave sleep, the deep, restorative phase that keeps the brain sharp, the nervous system calm, and the night continuous. Blueberries are uniquely powerful because they contain some of the highest levels of anthocyanins and polyphenols found in any fruit. These compounds pass through the blood-brain barrier and directly reduce neuroinflammation, one of the biggest hidden reasons older adults lose deep sleep. When the brain's glial pathways are inflamed, slow-wave activity weakens. Dreams get louder, sleep becomes lighter, and the night breaks far too easily. Anthocyanins calm those pathways, allowing the brain to drop into slow-wave sleep more cleanly and stay there longer. This isn't speculative. Multiple studies on polyphenol-rich berries show significant increases in slow-wave activity, better sleep continuity, and measurable improvements in cognitive performance the following day. And the improvements are especially strong in adults over 60 whose neural recovery systems depend heavily on anti-inflammatory nutrients. I've seen this more times than I can count. Margaret, 69, told me, "I don't feel sleepy when I eat blueberries, but I feel more rested the next morning." That is exactly how this fruit works. It doesn't sedate, it restores. Blueberries also help stabilize nighttime glucose, preventing the subtle glucose dips that trigger cortisol spikes in the early morning hours. For seniors who wake at 2 or 3 a.m. for no reason, that stabilization alone can be transformative. To use blueberries effectively for sleep, focus on consistency rather than quantity. A simple half cup in the evening, fresh or thawed from frozen, unsweetened, is enough to deliver the full benefit. Eating them alone works well, but pairing them with a spoonful of unsweetened yogurt adds a gentle boost to the serotonin pathway through the gut-brain axis. What makes blueberries the number 1 fruit for deep sleep is simple. They repair the part of sleep nothing else can fully replace. They deepen the night. They strengthen the brain. They quiet the internal noise that aging often brings. If papaya calms digestion, if pears protect glucose, If pomegranate cools the sympathetic system, if kiwi supports serotonin, if avocado stabilizes the early night architecture, and if tart cherry strengthens melatonin, then blueberries restore the core of sleep itself. They give seniors back the deep sleep their nights have been missing. Now that you've seen how each fruit repairs a different part of sleep, here's the simplest way to put it all together, without turning your evenings into a complicated routine. Think of your night as 4 biological steps: calming the gut, stabilizing glucose, shaping the nervous system, and reinforcing melatonin and deep sleep. You don't need all 7 fruits every evening. You only need the right one at the right time. After dinner, choose one calming fruit: papaya if digestion makes your nights unstable, or pears if your awakenings feel linked to hunger, glucose dips, or sudden cortisol surges. If your evenings come with a sense of internal tension or a slightly racing heart, a small serving of pomegranate between 4 and 6 p.m. prepares the nervous system to settle later. About an hour before bed, choose a sleep entry fruit if you struggle to fall asleep. Kiwi works here, especially if the mind stays alert even when the body feels tired. If your issue is staying asleep, not entering sleep, avocado with dinner and tart cherry before bed strengthen the architecture that keeps the night continuous. And if you want the deepest, most restorative sleep, the kind of sleep that leaves the brain clear and the morning steady, make blueberries your evening staple. A half cup consistently does far more for slow-wave sleep than most supplements ever could. You don't have to overhaul your diet. You don't have to add everything at once. Just pick one fruit tonight, observe how your morning feels, then adjust through the week. Small nutritional signals create big physiological shifts, especially after 60, when the body responds best to gentle, targeted support. Your sleep isn't disappearing. It's waiting for the right conditions to return. And now you have 7 simple tools to bring those conditions back. If this helped you, please like this video so more seniors can find it. Share it with someone struggling to sleep, and subscribe for the next guide. We're just getting started rebuilding your nights.